So this is the Self-Hypnosis Masterclass, and self-hypnosis is a way of using hypnosis in order to make changes within your life through, it's kind of like a mindfulness practice, kind of like a meditation. I mean, hypnosis or hetero-hypnosis, when you have hypnosis with a hypnotherapist, is more of a passive state of being. But there's something more active about self-hypnosis because we're directing it ourselves. So you have to have a certain amount of alertness, and this is what makes it more like a kind of meditation practice. And with self-hypnosis, there are many things that can be done. It can be used to increase your performance in a certain area. So for example, if you were playing basketball and you wanted to just be really good at a shot from a certain distance, you can rehearse doing that shot in self-hypnosis and achieving it many times. And often as a hypnotherapist, I get people who want to ace their driving exams. And what I do with them is I have them run through the driving exam in their imagination while they're in trance from the beginning to the end, succeeding in every part of the driving exam. Now they usually know, because when they're coming to me they failed already generally. They know how the test will go, they know the kind of way it goes, they know the sequence. So they can rehearse it in their minds. And they also know the parts which they are struggling with. So I get them to rehearse that bit again. So let's say somebody has a problem using the clutch. Occasionally they have issues with the clutch or stalling, so they're accelerating and using the clutch at the same time. So in a trance state, they can rehearse just lifting their foot off the accelerator, putting their other foot on the clutch, and then changing gear. So we can do that again and again and again. And by doing that, it's like the subconscious mind, which is a term we use to describe a deeper part of the mind. It doesn't really know the difference between something that we have done physically and done within our imagination. There was a study that was done, and maybe I'll post it somewhere, but it was about people weightlifting. I've told you this before, I think, where there were some people that were weightlifting, and the people who lifted weights would gain muscle, naturally, as you'd imagine. And then there were a set of people who were lifting weights and doing hypnosis, imagining lifting weights. And what was interesting about that group is that they gained more muscle than the group that were only lifting weights. And then there was a group of people that didn't lift any weights, but just imagined lifting weights. And they also gained muscle. And then there was a group that didn't imagine lifting weights and didn't lift weights. And as you imagine, they didn't gain muscle. So the imagination has a physiological impact, and we can harness that with self-hypnosis. And there are many methods that you might come across. Something I recommend checking out is the Silver method. That's really good for actually taking control of your life in many kind of ways, and it's also designed, Silver designed it for gaining extrasensory perception, but we're not going to go into that kind of thing right now, which is why I'm just mentioning it a little bit briefly. So performance is one thing, reaching goals is another thing. So in a trance state, let's say, I don't know, what's a good goal? What kind of goal should I talk about?
Overcoming fears, phobias.
Overcoming a fear or a phobia. That might be, phobia or fear could be in the realms of hetero-hypnosis, because there's something deeper that needs to be transformed. With self-hypnosis, maybe a good goal would be something that you can physically accomplish, such as success in an area. Like it could be business success, it could be relationship success, it could be spiritual success. Basically, a goal you have. I want to make a distinction about hypnotherapy and self-hypnosis. And I'm not saying you can't overcome phobias with self-hypnosis, because you probably can. It's just that oftentimes when there's something that has a strong charge of resistance, like a phobia can produce, and I've seen people run away from animals because they're so terrified of them. And then when imagining that animal, they have the same physiological response. So it's more difficult to use self-hypnosis for something that has a strong physiological response, like a trauma or something. But I'm not saying it can't be done. It probably can be done. It just requires a little bit of wisdom and trickery on part of the practitioner. So apologies for not going on your phobia route. But that might be a bit out of the scope of what I can talk about in this class. But we can talk about, I don't know, some form of success. Anything that comes to mind. Should we say business success?
Okay.
Yeah, so let's say business success. Let's say you're just starting out, and like myself, I'm a hypnotherapist. I want to build my business. So I could imagine a future while in trance, and we'll get to the trance bit soon, and we can all practice it together, so that you get a taste of how to induce that trance within yourself. But when in a trance, I would imagine having accomplished everything I want to accomplish, as though it was happening now. And I'd go even further than that, because sometimes our subconscious mind can be a little tricky in accepting suggestions. So if I suggest that I'm successful now, it might be like, well, you're a fool, you're not successful now, you're living in your mother's garage or something, which I'm not, for illustrative purposes. So I would imagine, instead, having been successful for some time. So it's like I can look back in my imagination at the past, and having seen myself in the past having achieved success. And that has a subtly different effect, because rather than accepting it as a reality now, I'm accepting it as a reality in the past. And I know this is a subtle distinction, but it's much easier for the subconscious to kind of grab that as an idea, because it is not something we're trying to tell ourselves that we are now, it's something that we have been. And so it has a different kind of effect. Does that make sense? Any questions?
I have an idea.
Have an idea? Well, what's your idea?
Sticking to a commitment, like going to bed on time, or having a routine of any kind.
Okay. So, sticking to a commitment, actually, Chris here is closer to the microphone, so you probably heard it louder than me. So sticking to a routine or developing a habit, that's a way you can use self-hypnosis. I'll go back to that after just finishing this thing about my success in hypnotherapy. So I'm imagining that I'm successful now, and it's happened already, so I can see that it's happened. And I can imagine around me, the people around me, the things I've accomplished. Let's say I have a thriving hypnotherapy school, and I have an online presence and online courses, and I have clients coming to me from all kinds of places and referrals all over the place. And I'm invited to speak and give talks, and I've given all these talks. And as I imagine that I'm there, feeling it, having experienced it. There's a real visceral feeling, and that's also important, because the subconscious mind responds really strongly to the feeling of having done it. So I'm imagining that I'm in that situation where I've given these talks, I've had many clients, I have a thriving online business. And what I can do from that point is I can trace back. So like, which steps have I taken to accomplish this? And so I can take it back just a step beyond there, and let's say, I messaged some people who were hosting a great event that I know of, and I asked if I could just give a talk on hypnotherapy. And that's a step that I have taken to reach this point, this imaginary point. This is an imaginary step I've taken. I can take it back. Where did I go before that? Well, I built an online presence and I had an online presence, so I can take a step back from that. How did I build that online presence? Well, I had social media posts, I added blogs, I asked other people who wrote blogs if I could contribute to their blogs, and then I can take it back even further. Well, how did I get started with that? Well, I made a post a day, for example. So I'm like really tracing it back. I did one post a day, and then I can, see that from one post a day, I got to the point where I could begin to message other people, so that I could contribute on their blogs, and then I could talk to people who are hosting events to see that if I could talk at their events and then build clients through this sort of system, or building an online business. Let's say I recorded one video a week, and then developed enough to create an online course. And then once I uploaded all of those, I can either pay somebody to put it together as an online course or whatever. But this is the idea. I have imagined being successful in the future, trace it back step by step, and your unconscious mind will take care of all the details. And that's quite an easy thing to do when you're in a trance. So I want to get to the habits. What kind of habit can we think of?
Oh, like posting once a day.
Like posting once a day. Okay, so I want to develop a habit like posting once a day. Once I'm in a trance, I can just imagine when I'm going to post. So let's say I have my cup of coffee in the morning, and then after that cup of coffee, I write a post. So I would imagine having finished my cup of coffee and then maybe picking up my laptop and writing something that I've been thinking about. Or maybe even writing a list of things I could think about, one step at a time. So let's say I'll do one self-hypnosis session where I imagine having my cup of coffee and then sitting down and writing a list of all the things I could write social media posts about. And I imagine that I'm doing it. And then what the funny thing is, that I will get ideas while I'm in the trance state. So that list will start writing itself in my imagination already. And then, if let's say I practice this same thing 3 times, and then the 4th day I have my coffee, in reality, and I pick up my laptop, and then I write this list, and suddenly I have all these ideas of how I can create social media posts. Now, what else do I need for social media posts? Well, I need photos, and I need to write what's on that list, like write a bunch of copy about what's on that list. So I'll bring myself into a self-hypnosis state, and then I'll have my cup of coffee in my imagination, and then I'll sit down with my laptop and I'll write some copy based on something on that list, and then imagine writing that copy. And maybe I'll have a photo already in my phone that I can use, or maybe I'll want to source a photo from somewhere else. Maybe in the trance state, I'll imagine taking a photo of something somewhere, or I'll imagine just finding some stock photo or something that illustrates the point I'm talking about. But by imagining doing it, I'm training my subconscious mind to do it, specifically in this case, after I've had my cup of coffee. So there's a trigger there. I have this cup of coffee, and then it's, okay, now I do my post. So the trigger is cup of coffee, post, cup of coffee, post, cup of coffee, post. And I rehearse this mentally over and over again until my unconscious mind begins to learn that this is something that we're going to do. It's like, this is the habit that we're creating. Any other habit you could think of?
I say going to bed on time.
Going to bed on time. So like going to bed on time. In the self-hypnosis or in the trance state, you can imagine that time that you want to go to bed, let's say 9 o'clock. And so you imagine that you're just aware that it's 9 o'clock and that you're propelled, there's a sense inside you that motivates you to follow your nighttime routine, whatever that is. And even if you don't have a nighttime routine, this is a perfect opportunity to create a nighttime routine. So maybe you want to do 10 minutes of meditation, you brush your teeth, have a shower, and then go to bed. So you'd imagine, oh, it's 9 o'clock. Okay, so now I do 10 minutes of meditation. You imagine doing the 10 minutes of meditation, and then you imagine brushing your teeth, you imagine having a shower, imagine going to bed. And then you do this again and again and again, just with this 9 o'clock being the trigger. 9 o'clock is the trigger, and then each thing triggers the next thing. So 9 o'clock is the trigger, 10 minutes of meditation, trigger, brush the teeth, trigger, shower, trigger, bed. So we're creating a bunch of triggers that will kind of let our unconscious mind know that something should happen here. Any questions about that? Clear? So we can also do it for seeking answers to questions we have. I kind of touched on it by projecting into the future and then looking back at the steps that were taken. You could do it in another way, where you imagine meeting, however you like to look at it, you could imagine meeting your higher self, and just imagine that your higher self stands in front of you looking however your higher self would look in your imagination. Maybe they're golden and shining, or maybe they just look like you but a little more together in some way. Or maybe they're very smiley and they have a very peaceful aura, and you can imagine asking them questions and imagine them answering questions. And you might wonder whether or not it's just your imagination that's answering these questions, and maybe it is, but I don't think it really matters. What matters is that you're able to figure the solutions out in your own way. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? And then another one I've written, another point I've made is that you can use self-hypnosis for improving health. So this is something you'll come across in the Silver Method, and it's like you can imagine being healthy in whatever way. And I was having a conversation the other day, you were there, about I think it was in a Joe Dispenza book, somebody crashed their plane and severely injured themselves, and they were paralyzed, and they were imagining leaving the hospital bed for Christmas, and so they imagined walking out from the hospital bed at Christmas, but they couldn't move. But that gave them ample time to work with their unconscious mind, or their subconscious mind, however you want to call it, to imagine stepping out of that bed and moving those legs. And they did it. By Christmas, they were able to walk just enough to leave that bed. And perhaps it's the same story or a different story. There was someone who was paralyzed and they were just imagining moving their big toe. And they kept imagining moving their big toe until they could actually move their big toe. And then they moved that, they extended that to their foot. So moving their foot, and then they could move their foot, and then they built on that. So they started little and then built on it. So let's say you have a health issue that you wish to work on, you can imagine building it up. I mean, you could imagine having been completely healed, being great, and jumping around like a rabbit and being filled with joy and however it is, full of energy. Or you could build it up in stages. So maybe you'll run down and you just need a little bit extra energy. So you can just imagine having that little extra energy. And you can even play with your imagination. Like maybe you can imagine your cells regenerating and becoming happier. Like maybe you've got cartoon cells that look very happy. Or little creatures that are working on you, that are healing you and beaming light or beaming healing energy, or however you want to imagine it. It really doesn't matter. You can get really creative with it. The idea is that the intention is behind it and the feeling is behind it, and that's a method that can be used. And there are many more methods, but there's only so much I can cover. So we'll go into the trance induction part. And hypnotic trance is reasonably easy to get into. I'm going to teach the most common method, which is called progressive relaxation. And you'll probably be familiar with it. If you've done any mindfulness, or if you've done guided meditations, or even received hypnotherapy, a lot of people use this technique. In my opinion, there are better and more effective techniques, but they're a little more complicated to teach quickly. But this is really effective, and I still use it a lot in my practice for particular types of people. But it really works well on oneself. So we're going to practice it now. And progressive relaxation is as it sounds. You progressively relax every part of your body, and then you progressively relax your mind. So first, I'd like to introduce you to a breathing technique. If you're already relaxed, like it's early in the morning or late at night, you might not need to do this. But the aim of this breathing technique is to move you from the sympathetic nervous system, which is the kind of fight, flight, it's all very like adrenalized, get things done kind of mode of the nervous system, to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is more like relaxation and calm. So we're going into the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you've had like a stressful day or something, this is a way to just calm down that nervous system and enter into a parasympathetic response, which basically means relaxation. So what we're going to do is take a deep inhalation and then exhale slightly longer than the inhalation. And then another deep inhalation. And exhale slightly longer. And a deep inhalation. And exhale slightly longer than the inhalation. And an inhalation. Slightly longer exhalation. And that's it, it's so simple. You can do that for a few minutes. And by the way, if you have any questions and you're online, you can post them in the comments and I will reply to them as soon as I can. And remember, the inhalation, nice and long. And that exhalation, even longer. Long inhalation. Even longer exhalation. This has an interesting effect over time of having a heart rate variability synchronized with our breath, so that the heartbeat speeds up and slows down in rhythm with our breath. This is a really good sign that we're in a parasympathetic response. And you might not realize that you're in a parasympathetic response, but there are some signs that signify it. You might just notice that you're more relaxed. You might notice like tingling sensations on your face or in your hands. You might feel a little bit heavier. And all these are really good signs that you're shifting into a more relaxed state. And from here, we'll go into the progressive relaxation. So what you can do is just imagine relaxing the top of your head. And as you imagine relaxing the top of your head, you can get a sense of what it feels like to relax the top of the head. If you want to bring your imagination into it even more, you could imagine that the relaxation is a beautiful color, maybe a white light for the purposes of this. People often say purple for some reason when I ask them. It could be in purple, whatever color you like. And that color, or that sense of relaxation, can spread to that forehead, relaxing that forehead. And then, as we go, it's a progressive relaxation. We move to the eyes, relaxing the eyes, releasing tension. You can even imagine that your exhalation releases tension. You might notice a few things, like maybe your eyelids flicker a little, which is a good sign that you're entering into a trance state. Maybe your eyes will even begin to move a little bit, like when you're sleeping and your eyes are in rapid eye movement. That also is a good sign. And you can bring that relaxing color or that relaxation into your cheeks, into your jaw, into your tongue. And a funny thing happens when you relax the tongue. Because our language, the way we speak, and the thoughts we think when they're in words are very related and very connected to our tongue. So when you relax your tongue, those words begin to slow down. And relax the throat, using that color, or getting a sense of relaxation. And I can say imagine, I can say getting a sense of. And getting a sense of, you don't even need to imagine when you're getting a sense of something, just getting a sense of relaxation. When I say getting a sense of it, I'm sure you can get a sense of what I mean by saying that. Spread that relaxation to your shoulders and chest. Into your arms, to your hands, releasing tensions into that stomach and lower back. Letting go of tensions, relaxing, spreading to the pelvis, to the upper legs, and to the lower legs and feet. And now you've progressively relaxed from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet. You can just notice any other areas in the body that could use a little more relaxation, and just give them your attention. And the more you practice this progressive relaxation, the quicker you can do it. It can almost be instant when you learn how to relax at will. But for now, we're doing it a little bit slowly just to get a hang of it. And there are a few things you might notice: thoughts, feelings arise, ideas. You can just relax those as well. Or just see those thoughts or feelings like clouds in the sky coming and going. And you're just observing. Now that is a progressive relaxation. The progressive relaxation is our first step in self-hypnosis. This might be very easy to do before going to sleep, or very easy to do upon waking. And now to begin to harness your unconscious mind in a more visceral way, you can imagine a place that's beautiful for you. So this is what we're calling the deepener process. So we've done progressive relaxation, and now we're going into a deepener. You're imagining being in a beautiful place. Maybe that's a garden. Maybe it's a place in nature. Maybe it's a room in a beautiful building. I don't know what that is for you, but whatever it is perfectly fine. And even if it changes, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're engaging your sense of being in this beautiful place. And in order to deepen that sense of being in a beautiful place, you can imagine the sights, the sounds, the tastes, the smells, and the feelings. So if you're taking notes, that's the sights, the sounds, the tastes, the smells, and the feelings. So let's say you're in a beautiful garden, you can see trees and flowers and bees and birds, maybe a beautiful garden path. The sounds of the birds, or the breeze blowing through the leaves of the trees. The tastes, maybe you can taste the freshness of the garden, or smell the flowers. Perhaps you're near the ocean and you can smell the sea air. And the feelings, like feeling peaceful, feeling at ease, but also a sense of physical feelings. So the feeling of your feet against the ground, the feeling of the breeze against your skin, the feeling of the sun against your skin, the feeling of the clothes that you're wearing in this imaginary place at this imaginary time. And in a moment you can just come back when you're ready, bringing energy all the way up that body, into that face, and coming back to the room or computer or phone or whatever it is. And that is the beginnings of a self-hypnotic trance. Yay! If you have any questions about that, please post them. Do you have any questions? No question.
Set a timer.
Set a timer. You could set a timer. Maybe set a timer for the whole session. I think like I want to be in trance in 3 minutes might be a little bit of a stress because you want a sense of relaxation. So if you set a timer, having a timer that is for the whole session would work if you want to do 20 minutes or something. But obviously I talk through that progressive relaxation and deepener in quite a slow way. You could do it very quickly. It could just be, you sit there, you do a few breaths, a long inhalation, longer exhalation. And then when you get a sense of feeling more relaxed, then just imagine relaxing the forehead. Relaxing the top of the head, relaxing the forehead, relaxing the eyes, relaxing the cheeks, relaxing the jaw, the tongue, the throat, the shoulders. And then once you've gone through the progressive relaxation, you go into the deepener part. I'm in a beautiful place. Now, what's classically done in self-hypnosis and in other forms of hypnosis is, let's say we imagine a garden and there's a path in the garden. You could walk down that path, and on every path, you imagine going deeper. You could even say to yourself, deeper and deeper. So that path is leading you deeper into your unconscious mind or subconscious mind. And there are other ways of doing that. You can imagine walking down a staircase. And on every step you take down the staircase, you're going deeper, deeper. But what's important is that you're engaging all of the senses within your subconscious mind. So you're engaging the sight, you're engaging the sound, you're engaging the taste and smell and the feeling in the body or the feelings within. And so that is a very potent deepener. So you could use the staircase, or you could use a garden path, or you could just imagine being in a beautiful place. I suggest using a staircase or a garden path or any kind of sense of a journey. Maybe you're going on a hike or something. Any time you feel like you need to go a little bit deeper. And that has a kind of auto-suggestion of going deeper as you're repeating deeper and deeper. Any obstacles to that experience? No? Okay. So, once you've reached this depth of hypnosis, self-hypnosis, then you can begin to address your goal. So, I mentioned a few things in the beginning. Just a second. So I mentioned performance, and I used the example of playing basketball. It's a similar thing with building a habit and a routine. There's a moment that triggers a certain response, and you do it. So in basketball, you're at this certain distance, a certain angle away from the basket, and you have the ball, and you imagine the ball in your hands, and you put all your senses in there. So you can hear the squeaks of the shoes on the basketball floor, and you can feel the weight of the ball in your hands, and the clothes that you're wearing, and you can see the basketball court, you can see the distance of the basketball, you can almost smell the court, you can smell the ball, the rubber of the ball, or whatever it's made from. And then you imagine taking the shot and feeling the movements in your imagination as you're taking the shot. It's also, I use this example a lot of, I was reading a book by Benjamin Zephaniah. He practices Kung Fu. He's a poet from the UK, a really good poet, worth checking out. But he practices Kung Fu, and he wrote a book about when he went to study with the Shaolin monks in China, and he was trying to figure out some of his form, and he just couldn't get it right no matter how many times he tried physically to do whatever movement he was trying to do, he couldn't get it right. And so his teacher would tell him to sit down and imagine doing the move. And so he thought, oh, this is very different to how I was taught in England how to do Kung Fu. And he's sitting there imagining doing Kung Fu. But he found that he could make breakthroughs by using his imagination and imagining doing the form, engaging the muscles in the right way, having the right flexibility, the right concentration, everything like that. He was doing it in his imagination. So that's another example of how you can use it for performance. And then again, we're talking about the routine of going to bed early. So that was, you're imagining, okay, it's 9 p.m. I mean, you can switch from, this is a question I often get, so I'm going to address it now. When you've done the deepener, how do you move to the next part? Well, you just do. It doesn't really matter. You just, disregard that place, and then bring yourself into whatever situation you want to be in. So you can bring yourself into your home, 9 o'clock, your subconscious mind goes, oh, it's 9 o'clock. And you go, okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes of meditation. So you imagine sitting in meditation for 10 minutes. And you don't have to imagine it for 10 minutes because you can imagine 10 minutes in a few seconds. So you imagine, 10 minutes passing in your imagination, but it's actually, like a few seconds in reality. And then you get up from your meditation and, you brush your teeth. And then you imagine brushing your teeth, and you can do that very, very quickly in your imagination. And then you have a shower, you can do that very quickly in your imagination. And then you go to bed, you can do that very quickly in your imagination. So you just play through this and do it over and over again, whatever your goal is, repeat it over and over again. And the idea is you're training a new habit in your subconscious, unconscious mind. So that was the kind of performance or habit-based ways of approaching it. I want to go back to the goal setting, where you imagine that you've already accomplished something and you've accomplished it like a little bit further in the past. So you've got a sense like, I've already done it. I've already made a successful hypnotherapy business. I don't know, what else can I use? I want to use another example. Okay, let's say you're single and you want to have a beautiful relationship. And you can imagine you have a beautiful relationship. You've had it for some time and you have a lot of trust and you have a lot of romance and you have a lot of, like hand-holding, watching sunsets or working together or just a lot of understanding, things that people want in a relationship or you might want in a relationship. And then, you've had it for some time, so you get a sense of how it feels to have that. So you can imagine being with that person. I don't know what that person looks like in your imagination. They might not look like that in reality, but it's okay. We're just, it's not necessarily like magic, like whatever you imagine will be exactly as it will turn out, but it's a good way of creating a mental map of what we want and a way to get there. So you imagine being with that person, how it feels to hold their hand and to watch a sunset together or to have trust or to get through difficulties together. You could imagine having no difficulties at all. And, I would argue that could be unrealistic, but maybe you believe that's possible. But I like to imagine overcoming difficulties really, really well, because I'm a firm believer that life can often throw things that you don't expect. So you're tracing it back. How did you get to this point of trust? Well, you can look back and actually you had conversations, really like honest conversations, where you spoke about the things you love, the things that trouble you, the things that make you feel alive, the things that you love to do and to share, and the things that you want to keep to yourself. Like this, and you can imagine it both ways. You're listening, actually, you're practicing listening, and you can imagine listening to that other person and becoming a team and working together. Especially if you have a habit like I did of being more self-absorbed. So it's something that, I had to learn to do over time. I think I'm reasonably good at it now. I make most of my living from listening to people a lot. So taking it further back, you met. Where did you meet? Maybe you met at an event that you were both interested in. Let's say a self-hypnosis class. And that's also a signifier. If you're looking back and you're imagining meeting at a self-hypnosis class, then maybe a good place to meet people would be at a thing that you're interested in. Your unconscious mind has already shown you, I'm interested in this thing, and I can meet somebody who's interested in the same thing as me. And then maybe you're not very, historically you haven't been very good at going out and meeting people, but your unconscious mind is showing you all these possibilities. Okay, maybe I met them at a self-hypnosis class. Maybe I met them at the gym. Maybe I met them learning how to row. I don't know. Whatever it is, and you trace it back. Okay, so what do I need to do to take those steps? Well, I need to find things that I'm interested in to do. So you're tracing it back. Okay, so I'm interested in meditation. I'm going to go to meditation classes. I'm interested in this. I'm going to go to this. So you've had this beautiful relationship, and you've traced it back to actually taking some actionable steps, like actually just doing some things I'm interested in. Is that a good example? I don't know. Any other ideas or questions or comments?
You repeat the thing that you want to do multiple times in the same self-hypnosis session, or separate sessions, or both, and how many times? How often? How many days a week? How many times a year? And how many times per session?
So let's say you have a habit, I'm sure you've probably heard that, but it's about repeating, how many times you repeat some of the thing you want to action in your self-hypnosis session, and how frequently do you do self-hypnosis? Well, I don't have a hard or fast answer to that, because you could just practice self-hypnosis every now and then when you have a goal, or you could do it every night, every day. I'm not that diligent with it. I practice often when I'm going to sleep. Or if I want to have a clear plan of what to do throughout the day, then I will practice. And the amount of times I'll repeat doing those things in my imagination will just be basically until I get bored. And then I might do it again another day. I could do it every day. I recommend doing it before going to sleep or upon waking up. There is a reason for doing it before going to sleep, and that's because your unconscious mind is already preparing to process. And so when you fall into sleep, it will begin processing everything that you just went through in the dream state, which is advantageous. But it's also good to do it in the morning, because it can set you up for your day. You can imagine how your day has gone. You can imagine doing all the things you want to do throughout the day and accomplishing everything sequentially. Now, this is a thing that's really, really good, actually, but I don't do it nearly enough. And when I do it, it does seem to work to some degree. I have this imaginary to-do list, and then I do everything on my to-do list, and I succeed in everything in my to-do list in my imagination. And I'll repeat that until I get bored, basically. And then I'll find that in my day, I might not accomplish everything on my to-do list, but I've definitely accomplished more than I would had I not done the self-hypnosis. So the self-hypnosis has set me up for success in a certain way. And then I can look back on the day and be like, oh, well, actually, I did this, and this. And maybe I didn't do that, but I can roll that over to tomorrow. Yeah. Or even a week later, because things happen, maybe I suddenly got a really busy week or an unexpected week, and I can be like, well, I can revisit that later. Yeah. So then there's the seeking answers version, which is like imagining you could be talking to your future self. Let's imagine you're talking to a successful future version of yourself, and whatever success means to you, they are emanating it. They look like it. They dress like it. They talk like it. They walk like it. They breathe like it. And they are standing in front of you with you're just beaming success your way. And then you can ask them questions. So how did you become so successful? Or what should I do about this? And then you can imagine them answering. And you'll be surprised at the answers that you're coming up with vicariously through this imaginary person. Or you can imagine your highest self, or whatever, like I mentioned before, a golden or sort of more celestial version of yourself. I mean, you could go, if you're religious, you could even use a religious figure as a guide, and imagine the religious figure giving you answers. And whether or not it's actually the religious figure, doesn't necessarily matter if you believe that you have that capability within you. You know, if let's say I practice Buddhism, so I'd imagine a Buddha. Now the Buddha is a very virtuous being. Now that virtue, I believe, exists within me already. And so by personifying that virtue as the Buddha, I'm actually tapping into my own virtue and receiving answers from the Buddha within me. Or you could do it with any other kind of a religious or archetypal figure you want. And you could do that in your garden, you know, you could just call them into your garden or a beautiful place at home or wherever it is that you imagine when you've gone to that deep in a place. So you're in a beautiful garden, there's flowers and there's trees and there's the sun and the breeze and you're barefoot on the grass and you're feeling so at ease, and then suddenly before you this beautiful, successful version of yourself appears, and you get a sense of how they look, how they move, how they breathe. That's important too. And you can ask them questions and have them answer. Or what you can do is step into their shoes and feel how they feel, breathe how they breathe, stand how they stand, imagine being dressed the way they're dressed, and think the way they think. So you can actually experience the world through their perspective and enjoy like that. Now I hope I'm not jumping through too many things at once, because there's a lot I want to cover in a short time, and I really want to encourage you to use your own intuition to choose which type of self-hypnosis you want to use for what purpose. And then the one thing I have skipped over again was the health. Yeah, if you're particularly interested in healing something, then once you've gone into your deepener, you know, down a staircase, through a path, or in a garden, or in a beautiful place in a building, then you can just bring your attention into your body and then imagine the cells are happy, or that you're breathing healing energies into them, or that there's some kind of psychic doctor working on you. I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do to imagine that you're healing that part of you. Or if it's like mobility, like that instance with the paralysis, you can imagine moving your legs until you get a sensation in those legs. And what's important is when imagining is that you're feeling something. So, any questions about any of that? Okay. Now I hope what's come clear from all of this that I've said is that in hypnotherapy, in many forms of hypnotherapy, there is a term that we use, which is solution focus. And you can just think of this term solution focus as being a kind of encapsulating term. So whenever you're in a trance, whatever your goal is, if you think solution focus, then you're looking for the solution rather than the problem. I mean, the problem might show up, but you find a solution. The solution is much more important. So, you know, if you're aiming for success, you have the solution of being successful and then all the solutions that led you there. Or if you have the solution of hitting the basketball to the basket in the right way, the solution is doing that. And so we're focusing on solutions. If you want answers, the solution is receiving answers, right? So this is how you can navigate which option to choose when practicing self-hypnosis. And so let's do I'm going to work on, in this instance, guiding you through let's say a morning routine. Now, whether or not you actually want to develop a morning routine It doesn't really matter, we're just doing it as an exercise. And practicing self-hypnosis. So we'll go through a guided morning routine self-hypnosis session now. But some hints and tips that I can give for practicing at home is that you can do it all sitting through your imagination, like talking yourself through it. Relax my forehead, relax my eyes, relax my cheeks. Or, I'm imagining being in a beautiful garden, I'm imagining the trees and the smell of the flowers, I'm imagining the sun on my skin, I'm imagining the breeze. You can do it like that. Or you can record it, like record yourself guiding yourself into your phone. Like on my iPhone I have, what do I have? I have this voice memos app, and I use that. So I can just press record and then say, okay, so take a deep inhalation and an even longer exhalation. And, I move on to, and you can relax the top of your head and send that relaxation to your forehead. And you get the idea. And then you can listen back to that and follow that as if you're guiding yourself. So then that's 2 ways. Okay, any questions before we start? Or comments? Or furious disagreements? Okay. Coming out of trance? Easy. Just imagine becoming present, be aware of your body once again, open your eyes when you're ready, and then just tell yourself, I'm here, I'm back. So when you're coming out of trance, just feel the body, notice your breath, however you like to feel your body, and then open your eyes when you're ready, and then just tell yourself you're back, and that's it. Okay. And again, if you have any questions or comments or furious disagreements or insights, you can share them in comments and I'll respond when I can. And let's begin. So you find yourself in a comfortable position. You could be sitting upright. I like to sit cross-legged, but I also do it lying down on my back. So usually I sleep on my side, but before I do that, I lie on my back. And that's when I go through a process similar to this. So once you've found your comfortable position, you can just take that long inhalation and longer exhalation. And a long inhalation. And an even longer exhalation. And a long inhalation. And an even longer exhalation. And again, a long inhalation. And an even longer exhalation. Two more times. Long inhalation. Or an even longer exhalation. And an even longer exhalation. And a long inhalation. And an even longer exhalation. And then you can let your breath return to normal. And bring your attention to the top of your head. Just getting a sense of relaxing the top of your head. a sense of maybe that being a colour. You might just want to feel it. However you want to imagine relaxing the top of the head is completely fine. There's no right or wrong. It's your mind and your intention that counts. And relaxing the forehead. And maybe you want to release tensions anytime you notice that exhalation. And release tensions and relax those eyes. And those cheeks. And that jaw. And that tongue can relax. And as you relax your tongue, noticing what happens to that inner chatter, that inner dialogue, how that begins to relax. As you can release tensions from your throat, and your chest and shoulders, and your arms, upper arms, relax, the lower arms, your hands, all the way to the tips of your fingers, releasing tensions from that upper back, and lower back, and stomach. Your pelvis, your upper legs, lower legs, your feet, all the way to the tips of your toes, and that whole body. And you can notice areas that could use a little more of that relaxation. And just give them your attention. Letting them know that they can relax. Now. And your thoughts can relax. Or they can just float like clouds in the sky. You don't need to interfere with them, to grab them, to push them away. They'll just pass by in their own time. And then we can go into a deepening process. And we'll use the pathway in a beautiful garden path now. So you can imagine being in a beautiful garden, noticing the trees and the flowers, the sights, the grass, animals, insects, the sky, the sun. Notice the sounds, maybe the sound of birds, the sounds of rustling of leaves, the gentle sound of a breeze, tastes and smells of floral, the taste and smell of the air. You can even play with it. Maybe the air tastes sweet. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're engaging your imagination. And the feelings of being in this peaceful garden, feeling so at ease and protected. Feeling the way your feet feel against the floor, the ground, the way the breeze touches your skin. And noticing a pathway that goes through the garden. And you can get a sense of curiosity to walk through that path, to follow that path. As you begin imagining moving those legs and how those feet feel, taking every step, or the way that your clothes that you're wearing brush against your skin, the way that the sun touches your skin, or the air, and the difference between the temperature of the sun and the temperature of the air and the temperature of your body. And on every step you continue to walk down that path. And on every step you can go a little deeper. And take another step and go a little deeper. And another step. Deeper still. And as you continue to walk through that garden path, you see a beautiful archway. Noticing how beautifully decorated it is, its shape, and the path leads through that archway. On every step, feeling your feet against the floor, the clothes, the sun, the breeze, noticing the flowers and the insects and the birds and the trees and the tastes and the smells, and going deeper. As you get closer to that archway, you can get a sense that that archway is a doorway into a deeper part of your mind, where you can make changes, where you can access information, where you can do whatever you like to make changes, positive changes in your body and mind and in your life. So stepping through now that archway and going really deep into an even more beautiful garden that can feel so relaxing, so inviting, so calming, so empowering. And you can find a place in this new beautiful garden to lie down. As you imagine lying down, you can let all those muscles sink into the ground. And your mind wanders. And now we move to the next stage of imagining our morning routine. And so upon waking, you can imagine your bed, the room that you'll wake up in, whether you're with someone or alone, how it feels to wake up. And the first thing you want to add to that morning routine, you can do it now. Whatever it is that you want to add to that morning routine. Maybe it's self-hypnosis, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's exercise. It really doesn't matter. You're just doing that first thing. Now we can call that number one. So you wake up in that bed, feeling yourself in that bed, and then doing number one task. Imagining doing that now. Feeling how it feels to do it, noticing what's around, noticing what happens in that body and mind, and how easy it is to accomplish this task. So we're going through your number one task. And you're doing it so gracefully, so easily. It just happened all by itself. You woke up and went into the first task. And once you've accomplished that first task, you can add a second task. What will you do next? Maybe you'll go to the bathroom, maybe you'll go to the kitchen, maybe you'll journal. I don't know. Whatever you want to call 2. So this is the second task, 2. And just imagine doing that. If you've got a cup and you're drinking a coffee, you can feel the cup in your hand. If you're writing, you can feel the pen in your hand. Just notice what you're writing. Put your senses in there. Whatever it is you're doing. And so, going back to that morning wake up, you're in the bed, noticing where you are, how it feels, sensations, the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, feelings. Then you easily go into task 1. And imagine the sounds, sights, tastes, feelings, thoughts, everything, and how easy it is to accomplish task 1. And you so easily accomplish task 1, you move on to task 2. And imagining the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, feelings, thoughts, as though you're there doing it with such ease, such grace, accomplishing task 2. And you get a sense of well-being and knowing that you've done that. And then you can go into task 3. I don't know what task 3 is for you. Whatever you'd like it to be. Imagine accomplishing that task now. Imagining the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, feelings, thoughts, as though you're accomplishing it now. And we'll stop at 3 for now, but we're going to repeat that whole sequence a few times over. So waking up in the bed, noticing the sights, sounds, feelings, smells, tastes, thoughts, and easily moving on to task 1. And noticing the sights, sounds, feelings, tastes, smells, thoughts, easily accomplishing task 1, just so gracefully. And once you've accomplished task 1, you move gracefully and easily into task 2. Noticing the sights, sounds, tastes, smells, feelings, sensations, thoughts, anything as though it's happening now and you're doing it so easily. And so easily you get a sense of well-being having accomplished this task and move into task 3. So gracefully and easily accomplishing task 3. Noticing the sights, sounds, tastes, smells, feelings, sensations, thoughts, anything that you need to imagine accomplishing task 3, or to get a sense of accomplishing task 3. And even if you have difficulty imagining sights, sounds, smells, tastes, feeling, you just get a sense of that, a sense of what it looks like, a sense of being there. So we'll go back, waking up in that bed, get a sense of waking up in that bed. Get a sense of how you'll feel. Get a sense of how easily you can move into task 1. And get a sense of how you can accomplish task 1 so easily. And get a sense of how good it will feel knowing you've accomplished that first task. As you get a sense of how it feels to move into the second task, into task 2. And you can get a sense of task 2 going so well, so effortlessly, feeling so good. You get a sense of the well-being you'll get from accomplishing that task. Moving gracefully and easily into task 3 and getting a sense of accomplishing task 3. Get a sense of being there, doing it, and it being so easy. And you've done it, and there's a great sense of well-being. And then once again, back to the bed. We can do it really fast now. You've woken up, and you've got a sense of waking up, and you move into task 1, and you can get a sense of doing task 1 so effortlessly, so easily. Moving into task 2, so effortless, so easily. Get a sense of moving into task 3 so effortlessly, so easily. And you've done it. And again, waking up easily, task 1, so easily, task 2, so easily, task 3, so easily. And back to waking up, task 1, 2, 3, waking up, task 1, 2, 3. Then if you like, you can imagine drifting back into that garden where you were lying down, enjoying being relaxed. And looking back at that archway, you can step back through the archway into the original garden, getting a sense of the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, sensations. And then you can bring your awareness back to your body, getting a sense of this body now, getting a sense of your breath, getting a sense of the here and now, the sounds around you, the room you're in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and just bring yourself back to the room now. Well, we're closing in 10 minutes. So, yeah, so any questions on how to do that, if you'd like any guidance on doing any of the other things like goal setting or seeking answers from a different part of yourself or a health practice, then let me know and I can do some guided self-hypnosis practices for those and share those. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll get back to them as soon as possible. Do you have any questions? Any comments? All right. Well, thank you very much, and I hope this was informative and enjoyable and gives you something that you can use to benefit your life. So, yeah, I recommend rehearsing your day with this. It's really cool practice. I recommend anything that you want to achieve, using this to enhance it. It's really good for sports. It's really good for just creating new habits. It's really good for just knowing what to do next. It's really good for anything. If you want to build like a sense of compassion, you could guide yourself in a trance and just feel compassion, feel lots of compassion Or if you want to be confident, just go in a trance and imagine being confident, you know, how it feels to be confident. What matters is that you're engaging your sense of it being a reality. So, that the solution focus is there. So remember, the stages are trance induction, deepener, and then your solution focus process. And yeah, there are many of those. So, thank you.